It's Friday, the 23rd of August, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's go. Story number 1. Later today, Kamala Harris will officially accept the Democratic nomination to run for president against Donald Trump. And what's going to be a fight between ideologies and ages, as well as conservatives and liberals.
Day 4 of the convention is underway, and the Democrats have been able to rely on some major star power over the past couple of days, with Oprah Winfrey addressing delegates yesterday in her hometown of Chicago, along with Bill Clinton and vice presidential nominee Tim Walz. Earlier in the convention, speakers included Barack and Michelle Obama. I reckon Oprah probably outshone all of them yesterday. She really matters because she's a registered independent, so her appeal straddles parties. Bill Clinton, he said that Kamala Harris had the joy to get something done. The one person who hasn't yet come out and endorsed Kamala Harris, who the Democrats want more than anyone, is Taylor Swift. She hasn't endorsed Donald Trump either, but she is the influencer to end all influencers, and previously has been successful entering the political fray by encouraging people to vote. The Democrats would love to have her stamp of approval.
Sean, so now the nominees have been endorsed by their parties. What's the election going to be fought over? And does it matter to Australia?
Well, Trump's talking about lowering the corporate tax rate while Harris wants to lift it. Trump's also talking about pushing up tariffs across the board. That wouldn't be good for Australia. The Biden administration has been against across-the-board increases. The general view in financial markets is that Trump would be better for shares. Harris is pushing more government handouts, likely to run a much more sympathetic social policy, including around housing. She wants to up support for education. Trump doesn't. Immigration's a tough issue. Trump continues to take a hard line on that. People like that. Trump isn't a fan of organisations like NATO and other alliances. Biden's administration is. That's probably a better one for Australia if Harris is there. The current administration has put climate change front and centre, whereas Trump wants to relax environmental regulations. Also big differences around abortion and crime.
All right, moving on to story number 2 now, Sean. And the boss of the ABC has quit the job just 14 months into his second 5-year term.
David Anderson yesterday emailed staff, said he'd quit as managing director of the national broadcaster and will leave when new management is found. It comes less than 6 months since former News Corp and Foxtel boss Kim Williams took over from Ita Butterose as the chair of the ABC. In an email, Mr. Anderson told staff, "I'm grateful to Kim Williams and the board for their support and their efforts to persuade me to stay on for my full second term. I'm confident the timing is right for both me and the ABC."
Story number 3, Super Retail Group, owner of Rebel Sport and Super Cheap Auto, posted record sales of $3.9 billion last financial year, with the automotive category being the standout.
Yeah, also BCF and outdoor wear brand Macpac reported improved trading, but Rebel's turnover fell. Earnings fell 9% last financial year, reflecting higher operating costs, but the group announced a special dividend. More promising was in the first 7 weeks of this financial year, all the brands achieved sales growth. Chief Executive Anthony Herity said the consumer remains uncertain, but Super Retail's proposition, brands and its loyalty base positioned it well against a backdrop where shoppers are carefully managing their spending. Super Retail's share price rose more than 6% yesterday.
Story number 4, this is a really interesting one, Sean. Japanese giant Nippon Steel says the Queensland government's coal royalties grab influenced its decision to spend $1 billion buying a stake in Whitehaven's Blackwater coking coal mine amid rising concerns over the security of supply.
Nippon Steel and Japanese company JFE Steel collectively bought 30% of Blackwater, giving the owner Whitehaven Coal $1.1 billion, according to a report in the AFR. Now, Nippon Steel doesn't speak publicly very much, but it said the Queensland government's decision to raise coal royalty rates in 2022 would certainly decrease the supply of coking coal long-term by disincentivising investment in new mines. The steelmaker said fears of a future supply shortage had given it a strong sense of urgency to own more of the coal mines that feed its mills. It came as Whitehaven reported a 72% drop in underlying profit due to lower coal prices, though its share price rose 7% yesterday on the Nippon deal.
Last one, Sean, story number 5. Ford Motor is downsizing its electric vehicle plans, cancelling a large electric sport utility vehicle, saying it'll take a $1.9 billion hit in writing down the EV business.
So it's dumping plans for a 3-row EV sports utility vehicle, citing tough pricing pressure as automakers resort to aggressive discounts to move their EVs. Ford instead will offer hybrid gas versions. We're talking things like the Explorer, the Expedition, those types of cars. According to Dow Jones, the company's moves are the latest example of automakers unwinding EV investment plans that they made years ago. General Motors last month pushed back the timeline on the opening of a suburban Detroit factory, for example. Ford has said its EV business is on pace to lose about $5 billion this year. In the 3-month period ended in June, the automaker lost about $44,000 on every single electric vehicle that it sold.
That is quite extraordinary. There we go, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Friday, the 23rd of August, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget as well to check out our sister podcast, How Do They Afford That? Comes out every week. This week's episode is 6 side hustles you might not have considered. I'll put a link in today's show notes. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.